Hi, Joe Cerrone.
Al Rosen.
Welcome to CAD-116 Basic AutoCAD in our weekly Zoom meeting. This week we'll be working on Module 11. Module 11 works on blocks. And in our instructions, we have two drawings. You choose either the mechanical or the architectural. And it's really an electrical drawing. It's an electrical schematic. The CAD files can be found along with the instructions here that are color coded in green. So if you click on this module 11A, this is the instructions and the dimensions for the architectural drawing of the architectural symbols. Students are to draw each of the different symbols and make them into a block. If we back up a little bit into the instructions, you'll set the units to architectural, limits, and actually most of this is already set because we have the drawing student file located here for you. So if we click on student file and then we open that, and I might have opened up the architectural one, let's see. Yeah, and so here's the template for the architectural file, and the students are then to go into model space and to complete the drawing of each of the different components. We have one that's completed here. And so here's an example of the workstation, the file cabinet, the chair, and the conference table. And so students are to create these different geometries for the furniture, along with the dimensions, and then create the blocks for that. And we do have a video for that, right, Al?
Yes, we do. Also, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we want to make sure you put all the hidden lines, span lines, center lines, whatever needs to be done on the drawings, please.
Yeah, definitely. Neatness counts, and we're at a point now where we've been in the class long enough that we want to make sure that everybody's following drafting standards. So we have two videos. They're a little bit dated on the architectural, but it's a good video, and I believe it still works quite well for us. And so if you click on the architectural exercise, it'll map over to D2L and then walk you through how to create these different blocks. And so that's the first video in the first exercise. If we come back to the main splash page, the second exercise is the electrical schematic. And so here's the electrical schematic in the instructions. Again, we included a student file, so everything should be pretty well set for you as far as layers. And we've also got a video. And so the way that we would do this electrical schematic is we download the student file, and then we create the symbols of the electrical symbols using our pre-existing drawing template file for the students. And so if we come back here, here is our student file, and we open that. And so it starts off on the electrical schematic tab. And then if we go to the electrical symbols, students are to put the electrical symbols on the first page. And again, if we want to look at a completed exercise for this, we would look at this right here for this electrical symbols. There we go. And so students will draw each of these different symbols, create a block, and then use that block on the electrical schematics tab to create the circuit. Make sure that you include your student name on here, correct dates, and follow the directions as they're put into the instruction sheet.
Also, make sure you, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you put a point of entry into it, so it's displacement point, so we can know where it's going to go if we want to insert it later on and move it around.
Right, and so the base point of these different electrical schematic symbols. And that's a good segue. If we want to take a look at the video here, we can go down here to the electrical schematic video. and it's detailed out in that video. And so we try to keep these meeting notes brief and point out where you're supposed to go to find the information. And so we have a video created on how to do the electrical schematic. This is one of our YouTube from back when we had our AutoCAD website. But again, it's a good exercise. And so work your way through it, create these different electrical schematics, make them into blocks, create the insertion points. And then once we have all the blocks created, we'll put them into the electrical schematic. Okay. So that's the assignment for this week. There's content available for you also. If we look at the book reading exercises, students are to read chapter 11, standard blocks. Standard blocks explains, and I'm glitching a little bit here. I'm trying to make it bigger, but I think you understand what I mean. The learning objectives are to create and save blocks, insert blocks into the drawing, and to be able to edit and update these different blocks. And so this is just a digital version of your textbook, which goes through and explains the learning objectives and how to work with blocks. The other book chapter is how to work with attributes. This exercise doesn't really have attributes. It's a good thing to know. We started using those in things like the interior design course, where we're mapping different furniture and attaching part numbers and suppliers. Attributes allow you to create these or to extract the information from your drawings for things like part numbers and database information. So if I was to go through and insert a piece of furniture, then it would say, okay, this chair was purchased from IKEA. It's part number 123. And then you can get a list of all the furniture within the room. So with that, those are your reading exercises. There's some additional information on dynamic blocks. Dynamic blocks allow you to have a block with multiple configurations. And I'm going to avoid clicking on it right now because I'm glitching a little bit as far as my login. And so with that, Al has added some additional videos for you, some helpful videos. Lynn Allen is terrific. She's an evangelist, a CAD evangelist, essentially, and a good person that we have gone through and worked with her on some training. And she just does a really great job of kind of explaining these things in realistic terms without having to be like a mechanical engineer. And so she used to do these presentations out in Palos Park, and we would go out to Moraine Valley for her training. All right. Other videos that Al has here, some things with W blocks and attributes, more with Lynn Allen. And so these are just reference materials for you. And then the remaining, or the main content, is under the contents tab. And so as we put these in the splash page, everything kind of maps back to these modules where we have our module 11. And here we have all of our content in here. So it reads kind of like a textbook. All right. With that, I'm going to hand the ball over to you, Al. And if you have anything you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, if you go down just a little bit, Joe. Keep going down there, hold stop right there. Okay, if you look at it, there's a brown line over there with words. We will be working on module 11 from now until 12/2/2020. So should give you about 2 weeks to work on this. We're giving you a little longer time period because of what's going on in the world, and also the midterms you had already, and we want to make sure you have enough time to complete all our work.
Sounds good. So this will keep us busy until after Thanksgiving. The course goes by really quite quickly after that. Check the main splash page for any announcements, but we're kind of in winding down mode. We typically go through 11 modules. This would be our 11th module, and then we start reviewing the course and taking the final exam. All right, with that, If there's nothing left to add,
Well, if there's any questions or you have anything else, please email Joe and myself, and we'll get back to you soon.
all right. So we'll talk to you after Thanksgiving. Stay safe out there, and we'll open things up for questions. I'm going to stop the recording now.